All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really controversial version of South African history, looking at our source material on the Afrikaner Broederbond, a secret society that this narrative alleges were the true architects of the nation's destiny.
So let's just jump right in. We're going to start with a quote from our source that really sets the stage for everything we're about to discuss. It hints at an immense, hidden power that, according to this story, was pulling all the strings from the shadows. So where does the source kick things off? Not at the beginning, actually. It starts with this pretty shocking claim about how apartheid really came to an end, and it completely challenges the version of events you'll find in most history books.
Right, so this is the moment that's etched in our minds, the one we all know. February 2nd, 1990, President F.W. de Klerk stands up in front of Parliament, announces he's unbanning the ANC, and basically signals the beginning of the end for apartheid. That's the official story.
But here's where the source throws a major curveball. It claims the real pivotal decision, that wasn't made in 1990 at all. Nope, it was made 4 years earlier, back in 1986, and it was done in complete and total secrecy. And this quote right here, this is basically the smoking gun, according to this narrative. It's attributed to a former chairman of the Broederbond, and it makes the incredible claim that the country's fate was sealed by this secret society long before the public or even the ruling political party knew a thing about it. Which, of course, begs the question, who was this group? Who exactly was this powerful organization that could supposedly decide the future of an entire nation without anyone knowing? Well, let's take a look at where they came from. Well, the source defines the Broederbond, which literally means brotherhood, as a group born out of the struggle and economic hardship that Afrikaners faced after the Boer War. Its mission, at least on paper, was straightforward: to consolidate Afrikaner power and influence in every single part of South African life. And boy, were they successful. Just look at this timeline. By 1948, their political arm, the National Party, sweeps into power. And get this, from that moment all the way to 1994, every single prime minister and state president of South Africa was a member. They weren't just influential, they were the power structure. But here's another huge twist in the story. According to the source, the Broederbond that built apartheid wasn't the same one that helped take it down. The narrative claims there was this huge, dramatic ideological pivot that happened deep within the organization's ranks. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast this slide paints. The source puts the era under Prime Minister Hendrik Verwoerd, also a Broederbond member, side by side with what came after he died. You see a period of hardline apartheid and economic strength, and then suddenly a complete 180 towards a negotiated solution and what's called a liberal transformation. So, was this just a simple change of heart? Not according to this narrative. It's framed as the result of a secret war, a covert power struggle. The source points to Broederbond documents that talk about a fight against groups like the Freemasons. And Verwoerd's assassination in 1966, that's presented as the absolute key event that tipped the scales and started the organization's leftward drift. Okay, so that naturally leads to the next big part of the source's argument. If the Broederbond did secretly decide to end apartheid, how on earth could one group possibly convince an entire population to accept such a massive, radical change? Well, the source lays out this incredibly methodical top-down strategy. Think of it like this. Step 1, the secret decision gets made at the very top. Step 2, the plan is sent out to its 18,000 vetted members. These are the teachers, doctors, lawyers, the pillars of every community. Step 3, those members go out and persuade other local leaders that this is the only way. And step 4, those leaders then influence everyone else. It's presented as a masterclass in manufacturing consent for a future that was allegedly already a done deal. And this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. How was the opposition handled? I mean, about a third of the members left in protest and formed a really powerful right-wing movement. Yet the source claims the Broederbond had it all under control. Their own media giant, Naspers, allegedly worked to make these groups unpopular. And the key leader of the armed resistance, General Villian, he was a Broederbonder himself. He gathers this massive armed force and then tells them to stand down. It's all presented as being managed from the inside. So all of this leads to the million-dollar question that the source poses. Why? Why would a fiercely nationalist organization built to protect its own people willingly just give up total power? Well, the alleged answer lies way beyond South Africa's borders. The argument presented is a pretty pragmatic one, if cynical. The Broederbond supposedly saw which way the global winds were blowing, so instead of being swept away, they made a strategic choice. Transform from being the absolute rulers of South Africa into being the local management team for what the source calls a new world order. It was about ensuring their own survival and influence in a completely new global system. To back this claim up, the source provides this table. It's meant to lay out the alleged connections between the Broederbond's corporate empire and huge international players. It points to the media giant Naspers and its investment in Tencent, and the powerful businessman Anton Rupert's partnership with the Rothschild family. It paints a picture of a local power plugging into a global network. And just to give you a sense of the scale of this alleged global influence, the source includes this historical quote from way back in 1835 about the Rothschild family. The point is to suggest that the Broederbond wasn't just making new friends. It was aligning itself with forces that have allegedly been shaping world events for centuries. Okay, so let's bring it all into the present day. The source finishes with a very stark and, frankly, very controversial assessment of what the Broederbond's role is supposed to be in modern South Africa. And this is the ultimate claim of the source material. It argues that the very organization that once saw itself as the guardian of the Afrikaner people now acts as their handler. It suggests their new job is to manage the culture, politics, and beliefs from within, all to serve a new set of masters. And here's the list of specific values the source claims the Broederbond now enforces. It alleges they promote multiculturalism, political correctness, financial dependency, and internationalism over nationalism, all supposedly in service of this so-called international agenda. So we've really journeyed through a complex and, let's be honest, conspiratorial version of history here. It's a narrative that starts with that secret decision back in 1986 and ends with this idea of hidden global control, recasting the end of apartheid not as a liberation, but as a carefully managed handover of power. So the crucial takeaway here isn't to accept this narrative as fact, but to understand the claims it's making. The source presents a version of events that's radically different from the one most of us know. Whether you see it as a hidden history finally being brought to light, or a complex modern conspiracy theory, well, that's the question we're leaving with you.